Listen, you either get the reference or you don't. Before we get into the video, I just want to remind you guys that I have some new Miami themed shirts on the merch store, and you can check them out by clicking the top link down in my description. I really think that this is some of the most unique Canes game day gear on the market. You're gonna love them. Oh, what's going on, Canes fans? Why am I sighing? I mean, we're 2-0, and even though it wasn't pretty, I sat here after the game and watched a couple of other teams get upset today. I mean, Notre Dame lost to Marshall, Texas A&M lost to App State, and a bunch of other teams are in some really tight games that should not be so tight. So, I mean, again, we're 2-0. Like I said, even when it's not pretty, I will always, because here's the thing, you can nitpick, right? When we will do that in this video. But at the end of the day, I will always take a win over a loss. I'm not talking about any of the details. I'm just saying a win better than a loss, period. So what we're going to do in this quick initial reaction video is dive into some of the positive and negative takeaways from this game. We're just going to be quick, straightforward, and right to the point. But before we do dive into that, I would like to mention one quick thing. Nobody predicted the correct score for the Miami versus Southern Miss game. So that means the $500 score prediction is still on, and it's going to carry over to the Texas A&M game. So if you're not familiar with what's going on, you're thinking, Coop, I want that $500 to be mine. It could be. All you need to do is show up on my Friday night live stream. We go live every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Call into the show, give a score prediction, and if you get it right, this $500 is yours. So let's talk about it. Miami takes down Southern Miss 30-7 in a game that had Canes fans on the edge of their seats going into halftime, and not in a good way. But there were some flashes of some good things and some areas that improved over week one. First off, a big positive for me was the fact that the run defense overall did improve, because we spent the entire week leading up to this game hearing Frank Gore Jr. this and Frank Gore Jr. that, and Miami held him to just 10 total yards on 7 carries. He was absolutely shut down in this game and a non-factor. Quarterback pressure was also better this week, but just keep in mind that most of these positives I'm firing at you are from the second half of the ball game. We all know what went down in the first half. More on that in a minute. And we all know that Canes fans around the world were specifically calling out linebacker Corey Flagg for his play last week. Now, I personally try to not specifically call out players, but if I do, it's constructive criticism and out of love, because, you know, I want the Miami Hurricanes to do well, to play well. I want to win games, and that means putting the best players on the field to give us the best chance to win. But this week against Southern Miss, he did look a little faster on the field, and he did take some better angles and had some big time tackles. So let's try to keep that momentum going. Miami also held the Golden Eagles to 0 points in the second half of this ball game. It was very clear that some big time adjustments were made by this coaching staff, and they just overall, the players looked less lethargic in the second half of the ball game. And again, more on that in a minute. Our main man, Andy Borregales, hit every extra point this afternoon and made 3 field goals. One of those, keep in mind, was a 48-yarder. This is huge to help build up his confidence for this season, because I'm just going to keep it real. I feel like there's going to be a couple of games this season where we're really going to need him. And 2 specific players that really stood out to me in this game were Tyreek Stevenson. He had some big time hits plus that interception, and also running back Henry Parrish. I love that dude's vision and ability to pick up yards after contact. I'm also happy to see the team step up and fight through some adversity. I'm sure that most of you didn't expect to only be up 10-7 going into halftime against Southern Miss. I know I sure as heck didn't. And, I don't want to have to go through adversity because that means something bad is happening during the game. But it was nice to see them actually come out during the second half and look like a totally transformed team. It did not look like the same Miami Hurricanes squad that was on the field in the first half, because here's the deal. There are teams in the past that would have came out sluggish also to start the second half of the ball game, but we came out firing on all cylinders and looked much better. Now, with that being said, what the heck was up with that slow and lethargic start to kick off the game? When we play better teams later on in this season, a slow start like that will not be a 10-7 lead going into the locker room. If anything, we'll be lucky to only be down 2 or 3 touchdowns. We cannot continue to do that. This was supposed to be a warm-up game going into College Station next week, and I'm going to be honest, it didn't feel like it. In my opinion, there's 2 separate arguments here. There's going to be the crowd that says, Josh Gaddis is just keeping the offense vanilla for these first 2 games because, they're just cupcakes and we don't want to show all of our cards before we head into College Station. There's also going to be the side of the argument that says, why would we not take some more chances in these 2 games? Because since they would just be warm-up games, it would give us an opportunity to find out who our true game day playmakers are. Or maybe this is actually just what our offense looks like. We do have to consider that. Now, is it good or bad? I don't necessarily know yet until we play some better opponents. It's very obvious that right now we love to run the ball. And don't get me wrong, I love a good, strong, solid run game. One that you can lean on late in the game when the opponent is gassed and you're just running it down their throats. Like, bro, I love that. I know Mario is a trenches guy. I know we're going to recruit some bigger body dudes for this squad to throw down on the O-line. But it's also kind of weird to me because I know Tyler Van Dyke's arm strength and accuracy, and we're really not getting vertical very often or taking a lot of deep shots. So it's almost like that takes Tyler Van Dyke out of his element, which would potentially kind of hinder us a little bit. Am I making sense here or no? It's also possible that our O-line just cannot provide enough time for TVD. We've seen that there's been a lot of pressure on him these past 2 weeks, and the pass protection has just not been up to par. So maybe this is our way of trying to play to the strengths of our personnel, which means Tyler Van Dyke doesn't get a lot of time, so we're going to have to run the ball more. Maybe that's what it is. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw a few more negatives out there. I don't want it to seem like I'm just being a negative Nancy here, a Debbie Downer, and, Coop is being all mad and upset about the game. Again, guys, I just want us to be great again. I want to see positive progress. I want to see steps forward. So we are going to go through and kind of nitpick these games a little bit. And I want you guys to jump down in the comment section and let me also know some positives and some negatives from your point of view. Maybe some things I missed or didn't mention because, I can't fit everything into one little quick react video. So definitely let me know down in the comment section. But another thing for me was the fact that I really felt like the corners overall were still struggling. And to top it all off, this was against a freshman quarterback. A freshman quarterback, and our corners were still struggling. That's not a very good sign. 9 of 17 is what we went on third downs this afternoon. That's bad. That's bad. We also dropped at least 3 picks, and you have to make those plays against bigger opponents. And if we're all just being 100% honest and keeping it real here, our talent is what won us this game. Southern Miss just did not have the talented playmakers that we have on our squad. So even with all the mistakes that we made, the slow, lethargic start and play in the first half, the vanilla play calling, the mistakes on defense, our talent set us apart from Southern Miss. If we play the same way that we played today, probably against most other Power 5 opponents, we would have taken an L today. 100%. That's just facts. And I did like hearing Tyler Van Dyke step up to the podium and take some accountability for the game today. He actually mentioned that he felt like he really didn't play up to his standard, how he thought he should play. There's a bunch of passes that he wished that he could have had back from this afternoon. And he himself even said, this is not Coop saying it, this is Tyler Van Dyke saying this. He said, if I play like I did today, next week, we will not win that game. So I actually like the accountability coming up, and saying that and admitting that. And honestly, the same thing from Mario. We've heard Mario take some accountability over these last 2 weeks, saying that he needs to get better in specific scenarios and just be better in preparing. So that is a good sign, because at the end of the day, I know y'all don't want to hear this, but it is a new coaching staff. Star-studded or not, it is a new staff. New offense, new defense. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time for everything to click with this. So the fact that people are willing to admit, hey, I need to be a little bit better at this, a little bit better at that, I need to make some changes, that's a good thing. But let's head on over to wrap this video up and just take a quick look at some of the average stats from this game. Let me jump on over, and that's how we're going to wrap this thing up. Not paying too much attention to Southern Miss because, well, we already got the dub. That's in the rearview mirror. Let's just see what Miami did or didn't do. So 23 total first downs for us in this game. We already mentioned 9 of 17 third down efficiency. Not very happy with that considering the opponent. Total yardage 451, 278 of that was passing, and 173 of that was rushing. Again, we really like to pound the rock, which if we're doing it successfully, it's okay. That's not a big deal. Penalties 7 for 70 yards. I actually feel like that's an area that we need to clean up a little bit. We had the touchdown that was called back. I like the enthusiasm, right? Blocking a guy all the way into the bench. I get it. However, it literally cost us that the touchdown got called back because of that. So that is a very big deal. We have to clean that up. We did also have the interception thrown by TVD, so we had the 1 pick. Now, looking at some individual stats here, Tyler Van Dyke was 21 of 30 on the day, 263 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And I do believe that stopped his little record thing that he had going on where he had 300 plus yards plus X amount of passes. Don't quote me on it. I can't remember specifically what it was, but I know it was at least 300 passing yards per game, so that does end that streak. And then Jake Garcia comes in 2 of 2, 15 yards. My man Jake's 10 of 10 on the season, I guess. So, I mean, hey, he decides to retire from college football. Perfect season in 2022. All joking aside, though, Jake Garcia is going to be the future of the program once Tyler Van Dyke decides to leave. Love that dude. Parrish, 24 carries for 116 yards, triple digits there for Parrish. Really setting the tone and saying, I am RB number 1. And I do believe that he is. Thad Franklin, though, is a hard runner, bro. Hard runner. Proving time and time again that he's not just a short yardage back. 11 carries for 42 yards. Knighton had an opportunity to come in, 6 carries for 18 yards. But he did drop a pass that... that was very questionable, right? So then after that, we didn't see a ton of Jalen Knighton. Hopefully he can step up and still be a big impact for us because I really feel like we need that dude. Restrepo leading the way with receptions, 6 receptions for 72 yards. Continues to be a go-to target for Tyler Van Dyke. We just got to make sure that we try to get some of these other guys the ball as well. I don't even see Ladson on this list. So is that Tyler Van Dyke just not going through his reads and not seeing him due to not having enough time with the O-line? I don't know exactly what's going on there with that. Keyshawn Smith did have the touchdown, which is awesome to see. 3 receptions for 49 yards. We got Brashard up there, Redding getting some love, Brinson with a catch. Arroyo, only tight end on here. And, man, I got to see some better blocking out of Mallory as well. Again, I'm nitpicking, but it's out of love, man. But Arroyo, 1 reception for 5 yards. There are no defensive stats up yet, so I can't really dive into that. I apologize. I don't have the stats yet. It ain't been uploaded, so I don't have it yet. We do know that Tyreek Stevenson, though, did have the interception, so that's big time from him. He had a pretty good day, honestly. And again, guys, I know that I'm nitpicking. There's so many people that come in here all the time and they say, what happened? Coop used to only be positive. It's not that, man. I do have a positive, optimistic outlook when it comes to this team. I do trust this coaching staff to continue to make changes. However, I try to be realistic. And I found that I do that. I provide that constructive criticism, again, because I want this team to be better, to get better. Can you imagine? I know we're not part of the coaching staff, but can you imagine if every week they sat down to review film and Mario was like, hey guys, we all did great. No one made any mistakes. Everything was unicorns and rainbows. Let's just continue to do what we're doing. No, you don't get better like that. You have to point out these inconsistencies and these issues, and you have to learn from it so we can grow and get better. So we've already seen a little bit of adversity early in the season. So we'll see if that helps us improve and become a better team later on in the year. So leave me some kind of comment down on this video, guys. Like I said, some positives, some negatives, just some takeaways from this game. You are free to vent, say whatever you want. This platform, Coach Coop YouTube channel, freedom of speech, man. You can say whatever you want, however you're feeling. Remember though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family, but at the end of the day, I gotta say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out. I'll see y'all in the next one.